I pulled into the parking lot of the Calgary drop-in center on a cold November morning, my daughter's voicemail still playing in my head. "Dad, I need help. Please." She'd sounded broken, desperate. I'd driven straight from my home in Lethbridge, 2 hours of growing dread in my chest. The shelter worker led me through the maze of cots and temporary walls. And then I saw her, my daughter Emma, 32 years old, sleeping on a thin mattress with my 2 grandchildren tucked against her. 7-year-old Lily had her thumb in her mouth, something she hadn't done since she was 3. 5-year-old Jake was curled into his mother's side, wearing a coat that was too small. In a homeless shelter. My daughter, my grandchildren. I knelt beside the cot. Emma's eyes opened slowly, then widened when she saw me. The shame that crossed her face nearly broke me. "Dad," she whispered, careful not to wake the kids. "You weren't supposed to see this." "What am I supposed to see, Emma? Why are you in a shelter? Where's Daniel? Where's the house? Where's the restaurant?" She sat up slowly, pulling the thin blanket up around the children. "Can we go somewhere to talk?" 30 minutes later, the kids were eating breakfast in the shelter's cafeteria, while Emma and I sat in my truck in the parking lot. She looked thin, exhausted. Nothing like the vibrant woman who'd opened her dream restaurant 3 years ago. "Tell me everything," I said. "Daniel left me 6 months ago." She stared at her hands. "But before he left, he destroyed everything. The house is gone. The restaurant is gone. Mom's inheritance, the $200,000 she left me, it's gone. All of it." "What do you mean, gone?" He had me sign papers. She was crying now. "After Mom died 2 years ago, Daniel said we needed to restructure everything for tax purposes. Put the house in a trust. Transfer the inheritance to a joint investment account. I trusted him, Dad. He was my husband. I signed everything. Then one day, last April, I came back from picking up the kids, and the locks were changed. There was a restraining order. His family, his father doctor, Marcus Sullivan is on the board at Foothills Hospital. They had lawyers. They claimed I was an alcoholic, that I was drinking at the restaurant, that I was neglecting the kids, that I was dangerous. You've never had a drinking problem in your life. I know. But they had evidence. Text messages I supposedly sent. Photos of wine bottles in our recycling. Witnesses who claimed they saw me drunk at work. Daniel's mother, Catherine. She's a psychiatrist. She submitted an evaluation claiming I showed signs of substance abuse disorder and needed immediate intervention. The judge believed them. I lost the house, lost the restaurant, lost custody of Lily and Jake. I only get supervised visits once a week, 2 hours, with Daniel's sister Rebecca watching and taking notes. Meanwhile, they filed for full custody. The hearing is in 3 weeks. Where are the kids supposed to be right now? With Daniel and his parents. She wiped her eyes. But last week, something changed. Rebecca called me. Said Daniel wasn't really taking care of them. That his parents were doing everything. That Daniel was never home. She felt guilty, she said. She told me to pick them up from school yesterday. Take them for a few days. She'd tell the family the kids asked to see me, and she approved it. So you took them? I was desperate, Dad. I haven't had real time with my children in 5 months. The supervised visits are torture. They watch every word, write everything down. The kids are scared to hug me. I thought maybe Rebecca was finally seeing the truth, but this morning she called, screaming that I'd kidnapped them, that she never approved anything, that the police are looking for me. I felt rage building. The same rage I'd felt 2 years ago watching my wife die of cancer. The same helplessness. But this time, I could do something about it. I have a cabin in Bragg Creek, I said. No one knows about it except me. You and the kids stay there. I'll deal with this. Dad, you don't understand. The Sullivans have money. Marcus is connected to every doctor in Calgary. Catherine has colleagues who've submitted evaluations against me. Their lawyer is Adrian Kozak, one of the best in Alberta. I can't fight them. Maybe you can't. But we can. That afternoon, I got the kids settled at my cabin. It was small, isolated, heated by a wood stove, but it was warm, safe. While Emma helped Lily and Jake unpack, I stepped outside and started making calls. First to my lawyer in Lethbridge, Victoria Martinez, who I'd known for 25 years. Then to an old friend, Inspector Graham Foster with Calgary Police, who owed me more than one favor from back when I'd helped fund the youth programs he ran. "Victoria, I need the best family lawyer in Calgary. Someone who handles high-conflict custody with financial fraud. Money is not an issue. What's going on, Robert? I told her everything. When I finished, there was a long silence. Robert, this is textbook financial coercive control with parental alienation. If what Emma says is true, this isn't just a custody dispute. This is organized theft and fraud. You need someone who understands both family law and criminal prosecution. She gave me a name, Jennifer Patterson, one of the top family lawyers in Calgary, known for taking on powerful families and winning. I called Inspector Foster next. Graham, I need information on someone. Marcus Sullivan, doctor at Foothills Hospital. Marcus Sullivan? Graham sounded surprised. What's your interest in him? He's my son-in-law's father, and I think he's helping cover up a crime. Give me 24 hours. The next morning, I met with Jennifer Patterson. She was in her late 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. Her office in downtown Calgary overlooked the Bow River. Tell me everything, she said. And I mean everything. Don't leave out details you think might be embarrassing or irrelevant. I told her Emma's story. The signed papers, the restraining order, the accusations of alcoholism, the stolen inheritance, the lost restaurant, the supervised visits. Jennifer took detailed notes, asked pointed questions. Here's what we're dealing with, Jennifer said finally. Your daughter's ex-husband and his family have executed what we call financial and psychological abuse through the family court system. The alcoholism accusations, the psychiatric evaluation, the witness testimony. This is a coordinated attack. I've seen this pattern before, usually when there's money or assets at stake. Can we prove it? That depends. Do you have any documentation? Bank statements, business records, anything from before Daniel started transferring money? I have copies of Mom's will. The inheritance went directly to Emma, not jointly. I have the restaurant incorporation documents showing Emma as sole owner. And I have some emails from when they bought the house. That's a start. What about the alcoholism claims? Does Emma have any medical records proving otherwise? She sees Dr. Lisa Kowalski for annual checkups. Has for years. Never any mention of substance abuse. Good. We'll need those records. We also need a forensic accountant to trace where the money went. And we need to challenge that psychiatric evaluation. Catherine Sullivan evaluating her own daughter-in-law is a massive conflict of interest. How long will this take? Months. But I can file an emergency motion to modify the custody arrangement immediately. If we can show that Emma now has stable housing, that the kidnapping claim was fabricated, and that she's caring properly for the children, we might get temporary custody while the case proceeds. Do it. And Jennifer, money is not an object. I'll spend every dollar I have. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a man on a mission. The cabin in Bragg Creek became our headquarters. I enrolled Lily and Jake in the local school under my guardianship. Emma got a job at a cafe in town, proving employment. I documented everything. The kids' routines, their happiness, their health. I drove back to Calgary daily to build our case. First stop, Emma's restaurant, Harvest Kitchen, which Daniel had reportedly sold. Except when I checked with the business registry, it hadn't been sold. It had been transferred to a numbered company. Whose numbered company? I hired a private investigator, Thomas O'Brien, to find out. 3 days later, Thomas called. Robert, that numbered company is owned by Daniel Sullivan and his father Marcus. They didn't sell the restaurant. They stole it. Next, I tracked down Emma's former employees at Harvest Kitchen. Every single one of them was shocked by the alcoholism accusations. Emma, drunk? Said Marco Delgado, her head chef. That's insane. She barely drank at all. She was always the first one there, last to leave. Most dedicated owner I've ever worked for. Would you testify to that? I asked. Absolutely. Marco's face hardened. Daniel, though, he'd come in drunk sometimes. After hours, going through the wine inventory. We thought it was weird, but Emma said he was stressed. I tracked down Emma's doctor, Dr. Kowalski. With Emma's signed release, she provided years of medical records. No mention of alcohol use. No signs of substance abuse. Regular checkups showing a healthy, responsible patient. Then Graham Foster called. Robert, I looked into Marcus Sullivan. Clean record officially. But I talked to some people at Foothills. There've been complaints. Nothing formal, but colleagues have mentioned questionable billing practices, ordering unnecessary tests. One formal investigation 3 years ago, but it was dropped after intervention from hospital administration. Can we use that? Not directly, but it establishes a pattern, someone willing to bend ethics for money. Jennifer hired a forensic accountant, David Nguyen. It took him 2 weeks, but he traced every dollar of Emma's inheritance. What he found was damning. The $200,000 from my wife's estate had been transferred to a joint investment account, as Emma remembered. But then, over 18 months, it had been systematically moved. Small transfers at first, $3,000 here, $5,000 there. Then, larger sums, always to accounts connected to either Daniel or his father Marcus. The house, purchased with $150,000 from the inheritance as a down payment, had been refinanced twice. The equity, about $180,000, had been extracted and transferred to the same accounts. The restaurant, valued at approximately $400,000, including equipment and goodwill, had been transferred to Marcus Sullivan's numbered company for $50,000, a clear undervaluation that suggested fraud. In total, nearly $750,000 stolen. This isn't a marital dispute, David said, showing me his report. This is systematic embezzlement with family conspiracy. The father is complicit. They planned this. But then we hit our first setback. Jennifer called with bad news. Robert, I just got a motion from Adrian Kozak. They're claiming Emma kidnapped the children and violated the restraining order. They want her arrested, and the children removed immediately. Can they do that? They're trying. I've filed a counter motion explaining that Emma was given permission by Rebecca Sullivan, but Rebecca is now denying it. It's her word against Emma's, and the Sullivans have more credibility with the court right now. I felt panic rising. What do we do? We need to prove Emma is a fit mother and that the children are safe. I've scheduled an emergency hearing for tomorrow. Bring the kids' school records showing attendance and performance. Bring proof of stable housing. We need to show the judge that Emma's not a kidnapper. She's a mother protecting her children. That night at the cabin, Lily asked me, Grandpa, are we in trouble? No, sweetheart. You're safe. Your mom and I are making sure of it. But Jake, quiet Jake, looked at me with old eyes. Daddy told us Mom didn't want us anymore. But she does, doesn't she? My throat tightened. Of course she does, buddy. She's always wanted you. Sometimes adults lie to hurt each other, and kids get caught in the middle, but your mom loves you more than anything. The emergency hearing was tense. Adrian Kozak, the Sullivans' lawyer, was smooth and aggressive. He argued that Emma had violated the restraining order, taken the children without permission, and was currently hiding them in an undisclosed location. Jennifer shot back, Your Honor, my client was given explicit permission by Rebecca Sullivan to have extended time with her children. When Miss Sullivan realized her family was using the children as pawns in a financial fraud scheme, she panicked and retracted her statement. Emma Ross has not kidnapped anyone. She's protecting her children while we investigate serious allegations of financial crime. The judge, Justice Thomas Blackwood, a man in his 60s with a reputation for being thorough, looked skeptical. Miss Patterson, these are serious accusations. Do you have evidence of this alleged fraud? We do, Your Honor. Jennifer presented David Nguyen's preliminary report, the business transfer documents, and witness statements from Harvest Kitchen employees. Justice Blackwood reviewed the documents. Mr. Kozak, your clients transferred a business valued at $400,000 for $50,000? It was a fair market transaction, Your Honor. The restaurant was struggling financially. Then why do the financial records show consistent profit? Jennifer pulled out the restaurant's tax returns. These were filed just 8 months ago, showing $60,000 in net profit annually. Kozak fumbled. The market changed. In 8 months? From $60,000 profit to $350,000 in losses? Does that seem credible, Your Honor? Justice Blackwood frowned. I'm ordering a full forensic accounting review. In the meantime, Emma Ross will retain temporary custody of her children under her father Robert Ross's supervision. Supervised visitation for Daniel Sullivan will be arranged twice weekly. We'll reconvene in 6 weeks for a full hearing. We'd won the first battle. But the Sullivans weren't done. 2 days later, Catherine Sullivan, the psychiatrist, submitted a supplemental report. Based on interviews with Daniel Sullivan and observations during supervised visits, Emma Ross continues to exhibit signs of substance abuse disorder, including emotional volatility, impaired judgment, and manipulative behavior toward her children. It was all lies. But it was on official letterhead from a licensed psychiatrist. Jennifer was furious. This is unethical. Catherine Sullivan has never treated Emma. She's basing this on hearsay from her own son. We need an independent evaluation. She arranged for Emma to see Dr. Richard Patel, a respected psychologist in Calgary with no connection to either family. Dr. Patel spent 3 hours with Emma, administered standardized tests, reviewed her medical history. His report was unequivocal. Emma Ross shows no signs of substance abuse disorder. She presents as a devoted mother, experiencing trauma from family court abuse. Her emotional responses are appropriate given her circumstances. The previous evaluation appears to be based on bias, rather than clinical evidence. But we needed more. We needed to prove the alcoholism accusations were fabricated. That's when Inspector Foster came through. Robert, I pulled security footage from the shopping plaza where Harvest Kitchen was located. The cameras cover the rear entrance. I've got hundreds of hours showing Emma's comings and goings over 2 years. Want to know what I see? A woman arriving early, leaving late, always steady on her feet. Want to know what else I see? Daniel Sullivan, stumbling out the back door at 11 p.m. multiple times, carrying wine bottles. Can you testify to that? I can provide the footage. And I'm recommending the fraud division open an investigation into the business transfer. The momentum was shifting. One by one, the Sullivans' lies were falling apart. Emma's former employees testified. Dr. Patel's evaluation contradicted Catherine Sullivan's. The security footage showed Daniel's drinking, not Emma's. The forensic accounting revealed the theft. But then came our biggest setback yet. 3 weeks before the full custody hearing, Adrian Kozak filed a motion to dismiss based on jurisdiction. He argued that since Emma was now living in Bragg Creek, technically outside Calgary's jurisdiction, the case should be moved to a different court, causing months of delay. Jennifer fought it. This is a delay tactic, Your Honor. Emma is temporarily residing with her father, but her permanent residence has always been Calgary. Moving the case would only harm the children. Justice Blackwood denied the motion. Nice try, Mr. Kozak. We're proceeding as scheduled. The full custody hearing was set for January 15th, 6 months after Emma had lost everything. I spent those final 3 weeks preparing Emma. Jennifer ran practice cross-examinations. We reviewed every document, every piece of evidence. Emma was terrified. What if the judge doesn't believe me? She asked one night. What if they take Lily and Jake away for good? They won't. I held her hands. Because we have the truth, and the truth is stronger than their lies. The courtroom was packed. Daniel sat with his parents and Adrian Kozak, looking confident. Emma sat with Jennifer and me, looking terrified but determined. Lily and Jake were with a court-appointed supervisor in a waiting room. Jennifer presented our case methodically, the forensic accounting showing the stolen inheritance, the business transfer fraud, the security footage proving Daniel's drinking, not Emma's, Dr. Patel's evaluation contradicting Catherine Sullivan's, testimony from Emma's employees, doctor, and friends. Then she called Daniel to the stand. Mr. Sullivan, you testified that your wife had a drinking problem. Can you describe the first time you noticed this problem? Daniel shifted uncomfortably. It was gradual. She'd have wine with dinner, then more wine. Then she'd drink during the day. When did this start? Maybe 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Jennifer pulled out the security footage transcripts. This security footage from Harvest Kitchen shows you, not Emma, carrying wine bottles from the restaurant to your car on 17 separate occasions over that period. Can you explain that? I was taking inventory home for her. Why would a restaurant owner need inventory at home? For tastings, menu planning. Did Emma ask you to do this? Daniel hesitated. Sometimes. These footage timestamps show you leaving the restaurant at 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m. Was Emma with you? No, but she knew. Jennifer pulled out employee testimony. I have 3 employees who state that they never saw Emma drink at work, but they frequently saw you drinking after hours. Were they lying? They must have been mistaken. All 3 of them? On multiple occasions? Daniel's face flushed. I don't remember every detail. Let's talk about the restaurant transfer. You transferred Harvest Kitchen to a numbered company owned by you and your father for $50,000, a business valued at $400,000. Why such a low price? The business was failing. We needed to liquidate. Jennifer displayed the tax returns. These returns from 8 months before the transfer show $60,000 in annual profit. How does a profitable business suddenly fail so catastrophically in 8 months? The market changed. COVID impact. COVID? This was last year, 2025. The COVID restrictions had been lifted for years. Restaurant industry is volatile. Mr. Sullivan, did you or your father ever intend to pay Emma fair value for her business? We paid what it was worth. So you're claiming a business consistently showing profit was suddenly worth 87% less than its valuation? Daniel stammered. I don't know the exact accounting. Convenient. Let's discuss the inheritance. Emma's mother left her $200,000. That money went into a joint account. Can you tell me where it went from there? Investment accounts. Whose investment accounts? Ours. Joint accounts? Jennifer pulled out David Nguyen's forensic report. These records show the money was transferred to accounts solely in your name and your father's name, not joint accounts. Emma's name appears nowhere. Is that still considered joint? She had access. Did she? Jennifer pulled out bank records. These show that Emma was removed as a signatory from all accounts in March 2025, 3 months before you left. She had no access. How could she access money from accounts she wasn't authorized to use? I don't remember the details. You don't remember removing your wife from accounts containing her inheritance money? My father handled the financial planning. So your father, Dr. Marcus Sullivan, removed Emma from accounts containing her inheritance? Adrian Kozak objected. Relevance, Your Honor. Sustained, but I'll allow one more question on this line. Jennifer looked at Daniel. Mr. Sullivan, did you or your father ever intend to give Emma any of her inheritance back? Daniel didn't answer. Then Jennifer called Marcus Sullivan to the stand. The older man was composed, arrogant, clearly used to being in control. Dr. Sullivan, you're on the board at Foothills Hospital. You have a successful medical practice. Why did you need to transfer your daughter-in-law's restaurant to your numbered company? I was protecting my son's interests. The marriage was failing. We needed to secure assets. Assets that legally belonged entirely to Emma? Marital assets are community property, not when the business was founded before marriage with funds from Emma's personal savings. Jennifer pulled out incorporation documents. Emma founded Harvest Kitchen 3 months before marrying your son using $40,000 she'd saved independently. Daniel never contributed any capital. How is this community property? He contributed labor, sweat equity. Did he work at the restaurant? Sometimes. How often? Marcus faltered. I don't know the exact schedule. Jennifer pulled out employee timesheets. According to these records, Daniel worked approximately 8 hours per week at the restaurant, mostly hosting duties. For this 8 hours weekly work, you believe he's entitled to 50% ownership of a $400,000 business? Marriages are partnerships, but businesses have legal structures. Emma owned 100% of this business. Your son owned 0%. Yet somehow, the business ended up in your possession for a fraction of its value. Can you explain how that's legal? We had Emma's signature on the transfer documents. Documents she signed under duress, believing it was for tax restructuring. Were you aware Emma didn't understand she was giving away her business? Adrian Kozak objected. Speculation. Withdrawn. Jennifer turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to submit these transfer documents for handwriting analysis. I believe Emma's signature was forged. This was new. Even I hadn't known Jennifer suspected this. But the look on Marcus Sullivan's face told me she was right. The hearing was adjourned for 2 weeks while the documents were analyzed. Those 2 weeks were agony. But when the results came back, they were definitive. Emma's signature on the final business transfer documents had been forged. She'd signed the preliminary trust papers, but someone else had signed the actual transfer. When the hearing reconvened, Justice Blackwood's face was grave. Dr. Sullivan, forensic analysis shows that your daughter-in-law's signature was forged on the business transfer documents. Do you have an explanation? Marcus Sullivan's lawyer jumped in. My client was not aware of any irregularities. Not aware? Justice Blackwood's voice was sharp. The documents transferred a business into his possession. He's the beneficiary of a forged signature. Mr. Kozak, your clients are in serious trouble. Jennifer stood. Your Honor, we're requesting immediate return of all stolen assets, full custody to Emma Ross, and referral of this case to the Crown Prosecutor for criminal fraud charges. Justice Blackwood nodded. I'm ordering the following. First, full legal and physical custody of Lily and Jake Ross is awarded to Emma Ross, effective immediately. Daniel Sullivan will have supervised visitation only, pending resolution of these fraud allegations. Second, the business transfer is voided. Harvest Kitchen is returned to Emma Ross's ownership. Third, all funds transferred from Emma's inheritance are to be repaid in full within 90 days, with interest. Total amount, $780,000. Fourth, I'm referring this case to the Calgary Police Fraud Division and the Crown Prosecutor's Office for Criminal Investigation. He looked at Marcus and Daniel Sullivan. Gentlemen, you've abused the family court system to commit fraud. You've traumatized 2 young children. You've nearly destroyed a woman's life. If the criminal court finds you guilty, you'll face serious consequences. We're adjourned. The gavel struck. Emma collapsed against me, sobbing. Not sad tears, relief tears. Years of terror and helplessness pouring out. Outside the courtroom, Lily and Jake ran to Emma. The court supervisor smiled, nodding approval. Emma dropped to her knees and held them both, holding them like she'd never let go. Mommy, are we going home? Lily asked. Yes, baby, we're going home. 3 months later, the criminal charges came through. Daniel Sullivan was charged with fraud and forgery. Marcus Sullivan was charged with fraud, conspiracy, and professional misconduct. The College of Physicians and Surgeons opened an investigation into Marcus's conduct. Catherine Sullivan faced ethics complaints from the College of Psychologists for her biased evaluation. Daniel took a plea deal, guilty plea to fraud, repayment of all money, and 5 years probation. Marcus went to trial and was convicted. He received 2 years in prison and lost his medical license. The money came back, most of it. Legal fees had taken $60,000, and some investments had lost value. But Emma walked away with $690,000, enough to restart. She reopened Harvest Kitchen with a new menu, new staff, and renewed passion. She enrolled Lily and Jake in counseling to help them process the trauma of being used as weapons. She bought a small house in Inglewood, close to the restaurant. I sold my house in Lethbridge and bought a condo 10 minutes from Emma's new place. I see my grandchildren 4 times a week. I help with homework. I take them to soccer. I taught Jake to play chess and Lily to bake. One evening, about 8 months after the trial, Emma and I sat on her back deck while the kids played in the yard. She looked at me. I never thanked you properly, she said. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. If you hadn't come that day, if you hadn't fought for us, I'd still be in that shelter. Or worse, I'd have lost Lily and Jake forever. You're my daughter. That's what parents do. We protect our children. She was quiet for a moment. I thought I'd lost everything. My marriage, my home, my business, my kids. I thought I was the problem. That maybe Daniel was right, that I was incompetent and broken. You were never the problem. They wanted you to think that. That's how abusers work. They make you doubt yourself. They use the system to validate their lies. But you survived. You fought back. Because you taught me to. She smiled. You never let me quit anything. Even when I wanted to. Inside, Lily called out, Grandpa, come play cards with us. I stood up. Duty calls. Emma laughed. Go. I'll order pizza. I walked inside to where my grandchildren were shuffling a deck of cards. Jake looked up at me and grinned. Grandpa, we're playing crazy eights. You're going down. I sat down carefully. We'll see about that, buddy. And I meant it. Not just the card game. Not just this moment. All of it. This family, these children, my daughter. I'd protect them no matter what. Because that's what family does. As I watched Lily deal the cards, her tongue sticking out in concentration, I thought about the lessons we'd all learned. That justice isn't always swift, but it's worth fighting for. That wealth and power don't guarantee victory when truth is on your side. That children deserve parents who protect them, not use them as weapons. That family stands together, especially when everything else falls apart. And I thought about what I'd told Jake that night in the cabin. Sometimes adults lie to hurt each other, and kids get caught in the middle. It shouldn't be that way. Children should never be tools of revenge. They should be protected, loved, given stability even when their parents' world crumbles. Emma had taught me something too. That survival isn't just about enduring, it's about rebuilding, about refusing to let others' cruelty define you. She could have stayed broken. Instead, she fought back, reclaimed her life, and gave her children a future worth having. Later that night, after pizza and cards and bedtime stories, I drove back to my condo. The Calgary skyline glowed in the distance. I thought about Marcus Sullivan in prison, his career destroyed. Daniel Sullivan working a regular job, his arrogance gone. Catherine Sullivan facing professional consequences. I didn't take pleasure in their suffering, but I took satisfaction in their accountability. Too often, people like them get away with destroying others. This time, they didn't. And somewhere in Inglewood, my daughter and grandchildren were sleeping safely in their own home, their future secure. That was worth every dollar spent, every hour of investigation, every moment of fear. Because family doesn't let each other fall. We catch each other. We fight for each other. We rebuild together. Always.